From Abuja, the nation's capital, this is Matters Arising, coming to you live from the studio of KAFTAN Television. Matters Arising is the flagship talk show of KAFTAN TV that features in-depth discussions and analysis of topical and trending national and international issues by our team of seasoned broadcast journalists. My name is Maucauley Hunohashi, saying thanks for joining us.
And I am John Okoro. Thank you for being part of the program.
From Catherine, welcome to the program.
We welcome our esteemed viewers to today's show, which promises to be engaging, incisive, and interactive. You can also be a part of the conversation by calling our phone number 00299-383-65, which will be displayed on your screen later in the course of the show. Catherine,
yep.
Despite, I must confess, despite just the slight makeup on your face, you look stunning. Your husband must be a very lucky person. But come to think of it, why don't men wear lipstick?
Oh, they do.
Will it be weird?
They do. Men wear lipstick.
They do?
Yes, I know that men wear lipsticks, particularly men that are into showbiz. And, you know, if you remember, sometime last year when former President Buhari was giving out national honors.
Okay, I remember.
The co-founder of Paystack, I think that's Ezra Olubi. You remember that he came to that occasion, exactly. You know, all made up with his lipstick and all that. You know, and President Buhari's reaction on seeing him that way was epic. You know, it was epic. It was epic. Yes. The way he looked at him was quite interesting to see. I'm sure he was shocked because it was unusual.
Okoro, did you see that epic moment?
Well, yeah, it came and it went. Generally, you know, such things they just come once in a while. But I know that for men, I think it's more of lips gloss, you know, during the Hamatan period, or those who have cracked lips and dry lips and everything. Yeah, I see them all the time. But for those in show business, it's a way of life, whether men or women.
I'm just imagining how red lipstick will do on my face, having grown up as a man. Anyway, before
it'll be out of place. It'll be out of place.
I agree with that.
You should try it on the next. You know,
well, I'll try it.
Next time we are coming on the program
on national TV. Well, on that note, before I introduce our topic of discussion today, let's join Sifon Umo for a quick roundup of events and happenings in Nigerian polity.
The Nigeria Labour Congress has threatened to shut down the country for a month in protest against alleged plans by the National Assembly to deregulate the national minimum wage. NLC President Joe Ajero declared the position of the union while speaking on the sidelines of an event in Lagos. Ajero explained that a joint committee of the Senate, the House of Representatives and the Judiciary have been meeting with the intention to remove Section 34 from the exclusive legislative list to the concurrent list so that state governors can determine what to pay so that there will be no national minimum wage anymore. The NLC president stated that workers cannot accept any situation where government will foist a slave wage on workers and force poverty on the citizens. The Nigerian security chiefs have resolved to set up a joint task force to rid the Niger Delta of crude oil thieves, pipeline vandals, and other criminal elements sabotaging the nation's economy. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has earlier directed that crude exploration in the oil-rich region must be made seamless and lives protected. Speaking to reporters after a meeting in Abuja, which also included the CEO of Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Mele Kyari, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, while appealing to host communities for understanding, assured the nation that in about 3 months' time, the results of the operation will come to light. The governor of Kano State, Abba Yusuf, has approved the appointment of 3 second-class emirs in the state, comprising Rano, Gaya, and Karaye with immediate effect. The newly appointed emirs are Alhaji Muhammad Umar as the Emir of Rano and Alhaji Aliyu Abdul Kadir Gaya as the Emir of Gaya. A statement issued by the governor's spokesperson, Sanusi Tofa, said that Governor Abba Yusuf, while congratulating the newly appointed emirs, has enjoined them to be the custodians of culture, peace and unity of the people in their respective emirates. The Director General, Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute (NBRRI), Professor Samson Duna, has disclosed that preliminary investigation into the Saint Academy building collapse in Jos, Plateau State last week has revealed that the structure showed signs of distress, while weak materials were also used in erecting the building. Addressing newsmen in Jos, Plateau State, Duna stated that the investigative committee headed by Professor O.F. Job of the Building Department at the University of Jos discovered, among other things, that the quantity of concrete in the two-story building was inadequate because there was no boundary between the concrete and the steel reinforcement. He therefore enjoined the government and other professional bodies in the construction industry to insist on carrying out integrity tests on all distressed buildings, especially those around the collapsed building site. That is all on the news roundup. I am Siphon Umar.
You're welcome back, and thanks to Siphon for taking us up to speed with news making headlines. And now to our first topic. The Nigerian electricity sector generates, transmits and distributes megawatts of electric power that is significantly less than what is needed to meet basic household and industrial needs. Nigeria has 23 power generating plants connected to the national grid with a capacity to generate 11,165.4 megawatts of electricity. These plants are managed by generation companies commonly known as GENCOs and other independent power providers. In 2012, the industry labored to distribute 5,000 megawatts, very much less than the 40,000 megawatts needed to sustain the basic needs of the population. This deficit is also exacerbated by unannounced load shedding, partial and total system collapse and power failure. To meet demand, many households and businesses resort to purchasing generating sets to generate power. This chronic electricity shortage has affected the country for many years. In 2022 alone, the country's power grid collapsed twice in 1 week. This year alone, the national grid collapsed so many times. Despite the epileptic supply, on April 3rd, 2024, the National Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC) approved an increase in the electricity tariff for customers in the Band A classification from 66 naira to 209 naira per kilowatts. The tariff hike attracted public outcry and calls for its reversal. The calls continue to fall on deaf ears as Nigerians continue to live in partial darkness. Guys, Nigerians continue to live in partial darkness. We're in a country where every sector of the Nigerian economy, you take a cursory look at, there are challenges. But that of electricity, if you remember trillions that the sector has gulped in the past decades, you begin to wonder what kind of nation are we. You know, visiting highbrow residential areas like Maitama, you know, Okoro, all you see, then it was generating sets. Now they have, you know, graduated to inverters and solar panels. Rooftops are inundated with solar panels, which means leaders that have been given the responsibility of providing all these things have failed us, only for them to find the means of generating their own power. When you talk about generating sets, not everybody can afford generating set. Even the solar I talked about is beyond the reach of, you know, middle class. We have also, you know, there is no middle class in Nigeria anymore, but it's beyond everybody. Only the rich that are few can afford these things. John.
All right. There's no gainsaying that we've not gotten it right over the years, despite all the trillions, like you've just mentioned earlier. And you also remember that from the time of the Obasanjo's administration, from the early 2000s, that one of the things or the major projects that that administration had was to reform the power sector.
Yeah.
And it began with the unbundling of NEPA into 18 holding companies in 2005. Yeah. We call them the PHCN. and with the aim to unbundling them and making things better. And the PACN now, the process of reform continued until about 1st of November 2013. After all the bickerings, after all said and done, on the 1st of November 2013, the successor companies to PACN now took over. So the power sector became somewhat privatized, despite the fact that government still held about 40% equity, the government, and also retained the ownership of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. But generation and distribution then went to private owners. Now, it was expected that from that time onwards, that we see changes like what happened in the telecom sector in the early 2000s. However, years down the line now, it's still the same old song. The same old song. And the issue is here, number one, we need to even have more generation ability. You mentioned about 11 point something thousand, which just, you can say roughly 12,000 megawatts. That is the installed capacity. But we cannot evacuate beyond 5,000 megawatts. That is it. Across all the generating, both the integrated power plants, the hydroelectric power plants, even the thermal plants across the country, we can't go beyond this because of we don't have the ability to evacuate more than this. So we have been moving between 4,000 megawatts, 2,000 megawatts.
What does it take to even have the ability?
I don't know. I don't know. And so on and so forth. So we see a country of over 200 something million people just navigating between 3,000, 4,000 megawatts.
Exactly.
While you have a country like South Africa, which is just maybe a little bit under 60 million people, has at least the installed capacity and ability to evacuate is about 50,000 megawatts, with about under 60 million people. Then a country that has more than 200 million people is just dealing with 3,000 megawatts.
4 times the population of that country.
So you can imagine. So I think something is fundamentally wrong, which must be addressed, which I feel that we have been approaching this with kid gloves and to the detriment of every one of us, including our economy and industrialization.
You know, for me, I find it shameful that yes, it's quite shameful that in 2024, a country that prides itself as a giant of Africa, is, still struggling to, come up to 5,000 megawatts of electricity to meet household and industrial needs, and then each time the national grid collapses, what I always ask is, does this country have any shame? Because it's quite shameful. It's quite shameful, So at a time when we should have moved past this issue of 5,000. I've been hearing 5,000 megawatts since if I'm not mistaken, maybe since I was in primary school. Yes, I've been hearing that by the end of this year we'll have 5,000 megawatts. By the end of this period, until today, we are still struggling within the range of that 5,000 megawatts, and it's not fair at all, because as it is today in Nigeria, a lot of people generate their own power because they are using power generating sets, or they are either using inverters or solar. Back then, the story used to be that, power supply in Nigeria cannot be fixed because the cabal that imports generators, are behind, one of those that are behind it. But recently, I read a news report that generator sales have even dropped because, number one, they have become very expensive. People cannot even afford it. And then, because of the high cost of petrol and diesel, people are also opting for renewable energy. They are going for inverters and solar and the solar system. So even the generator sales have dropped. So maybe now that the generator cabal is somewhat out of the way, in quote, we can begin to see some progress. But on seriously, the government really needs to, sit up and treat the power situation with the seriousness that it deserves, because as it is, it does not appear that the government is serious about making any progress with that sector. I
think in addition to that, I believe that there are two underpinning challenges bedeviling the power sector. One of them is lack of political will, and the second one is endemic corruption. Lack of political will takes me back to the Buhari era, when, you know, he was appointed for 6 months. We never had ministers. Yeah. If you remember his first term, we never had ministers. During the second term, only for President Buhari to appoint someone that knew next to nothing about electricity from Taraba State, Salem man. This is a man that is being investigated by EFCC. In fact, he just got, you know, his bail. He just met his bail condition because he has been under detention since last week. These are the kind of things we are talking about. Put a square peg that squarely fits a square hole, and block leakages, and where there are infractions, you punish the person so that it can serve as a deterrent. That is the corruption part that I'm talking about. And we don't seem to be serious. When during the privatization John talked about, we know what happened. Nigerians, prominent Nigerians, were the ones who bought over those generating plants
and the distribution
companies. Prominent Nigerians, including former heads of states. Why will it be so? And the what do you call that thing? The competitive bidding was not tidy enough for, you know, international companies that are highly profiled in provision of this kind of thing for them to even participate. It wasn't advertised. Even the advertisement was shoddily done, and the competitive bidding was not well tidied up. And these are some of the problems that we're facing as a nation. On that, we just missed a caller. Hey, John.
Yes, you know, we have also, beyond what you just mentioned, just in addition to that, the underpinning problems, we also have the issue of over-centralization of everything. No country as big as Nigeria, we depend on a single national grid. It never happens. Go and fact check it across the world. Most of, even in the US, they don't have one single national grid. Because of the size of the country, there's no way you can use one single national grid to actually cover the whole of the country. That is one. Then number two, the world is also evolving. Today, people are also migrating from hydropower, from thermal power, into alternative energy. Clean energy, like you mentioned. We have the solar, which is also becoming...
Okay, let's take this caller.
Okay.
Hello, good evening. You are our first caller. Your name, please, and where you're calling from. Okay, we have lost the first caller.
All right. We have the solar energy. We have wind energy. The solar, generally, the inverter, the rest of them, that are part of under the solar umbrella. There we have wind. We can generate wind like in Egypt. Egypt is one of the biggest generators of wind energy. Thermal? Yeah, I mentioned thermal. I said people are migrating from hydropower, from thermal.
All right, John, let's take this call.
Okay.
Hello, good evening. This is Matters Arising on KAFTAN Television from Abuja.
Okay, my name is the Righteous Man.
The Righteous Man. Okay, go ahead, Righteous Man.
I'm calling from Abuja.
Okay, go ahead.
I am about 60 years old, and I discovered that anytime it's raining in Nigeria, they must take life.
That's funny.
Just as Catherine said, it is very shameful. It is not. This is what we call ourselves giants of Africa, and Okoro, the second guest, was also talking about comparing us with South Africa, with less than 60 million people and generating more than almost 20 megawatts, and this is Nigeria, more than 200, and we're talking about 5 megawatts. Any day anytime it's raining, they must take it.
Honestly,
I don't understand. I don't understand this country. Please, government, talk to yourself. It is disheartening. It is somehow, and honestly, I'm confused. Please, talk to your president, talk to the minister. You guys, they must sit up, because Nigeria is falling. Nigeria is lying down, is in comatose, and is in the mortuary. Epileptic power supply has been with us since we were all born, and up till now are still experiencing it. This has to stop, and government must sit up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Righteous Man. Righteous Man says he's about 60 years old, and this spectacle of power outages has been with him for throughout the period he can remember. And the funny part of it, what he talked about, it sounds funny, and like Catherine said, it's shameful that whenever it's going to rain, Nigerians are expecting power outage.
Yeah, it's such that anytime it's raining and people still have power supply in their homes, you see them coming on social media to say, oh, something must be wrong today. The person on duty, is he sleeping? What happened?
Let's take this call out, Catherine. Hello, good evening. This is Matters Arising. Thank you.
From Bayelsa State.
Okay, Bayelsa. Concerned citizen, okay. Yeah, regular caller.
Yes, okay. I love you, but you are feeling your body.
Okay.
Very necessary. The body must affect it very low.
Okay. No, it's okay now. Reduce the volume of your television set.
I'm reducing my too.
Okay, thank you. Are we in tandem?
Okay.
Okay.
It's just like the first caller. He just said my mind.
Okay.
I was just thinking of what is wrong with this country. I'm now meditating that Nigeria is like a building whose foundation is weak, and the landlord is repainting and designing the body without considering the foundation. And the day it will collapse, many people may be under. So that's why the first caller just spoke what was going through in my mind. A man who can buy or price a stolen material is not a thief.
Yes, certainly.
So if he steals to go to develop people there, what do we call that person? A person that can still accept what? Stolen votes. Rigged election. And you can accept it and sit in power. So who are you? I say you want to fight corruption. In which way? So Nigeria is a wobbling state. And it will collapse soon if we don't do anything. Is it not a lasting matter? Since 1960 till today, where are we? Travel abroad and see Nigerian citizens, the kind of work they are doing, graduates being gardener there over another country. I said graduates in Nigeria. Go travel outside and see the kind of work they are doing. Since 1960 till the date, Buhari was there 8 years. They handed over to Tinubu. Are you hearing about Adesin again, Lai Mohammed and all the rest? Those who were telling us that we are on top of, they are doing this. Are you hearing their voice again?
No.
Have they not started to say what to be praising Tinubu? Now when you say anything like say doom and House and Assembly or Senate, they want to silence it, so nobody will say anything. Is that where are we going to with this kind of leadership? Tell them that if they are sitting in House Rock, that Nigeria is boiling gradually. That is like a building, the foundation is weak. If it collapses, the security agents cannot control it. Because a hungry man is ready to die. And security agents are human beings and they have families and relations. And all of us are together. So if you are chasing those in front, what of those at your back?
Thank you, concerned citizens. Thank you for your
comment. It's the only place where you point a gun. Let them know that things are terrible in this country.
You made very valid
people are hungry.
Yes. Thank you.
Things are terrible.
Thank you, concerned citizen.
Let them hear that God cannot stop it.
You're right. Okay. Our concerned citizen has raised a lot of issues. People are hungry, people are... You see, whenever you talk to Nigerians are not happy with what's going on in the country. But let's take this caller again. Hello, good evening. This is Matters Arising on KAFTAN Television from Agbo.
Hello, good evening. This is Sally calling from Jos.
Sally, you are a regular caller. We appreciate you. Continue with your comments.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to address the second caller before I make my own contribution, because when we are on national TV talking, we have to be patriotic. We know every country has their own challenges. Just like when he's talking about outside country, just recently, some days ago in the US, an assassination attempt on a former president who is contesting for election in the next 3 months or 4 months. When have you seen a Nigerian trying to kill a sitting president? No matter how bad it is, you always see that the country, people are always targeted outside the villages, not in the city center. Every country has their own challenges. When people are calling on national TV to talk, they should be patriotic. They should, if Nigeria collapses and you are in the country, are you safe? You are not. We should always hold our country because we don't have any place. Even Ghanaians will not take us in, talk more of Nigerians, because of we will overwhelm them. We are the largest population in Africa. Give it or take it. Definitely we will deal with the issue of crisis. When people are trying to measure, they say go to Ghana. But how many million are Ghana? They are less than 50 million. So anything that you want to do, your population will definitely stick in whatever you are doing. Yes, we understand that our leaders have not planned very well. And we've not utilized money being generated from the oil sector very well. And that is why today you're talking about power. You're talking about power. The other panelists there talked about people moving from hydro to what understood. But every country, the government today looked at it from this way and even privatized the generation companies. We have Gerebu, we have we have Transcorp, we have a lot of these companies coming on board. They are not really giving the infrastructure that the federal government needs. The idea of privatizing the GEMCO and the DISCO is all about to pull government back a little bit, let government deal with the issue of TCN. But the thing is not working because a lot of them are business people. When they just set some parameters and do some things and then they are making money, they are okay. Look at Mambila, for instance. Mambila has been a political issue since Obasanjo till date. And Buhari came, did his best, drama upon drama. You can hear plenty ministers being arrested by EFCC and the rest. So when government wants to work, government will work. The people in charge of this infrastructure, whether it be TCN, whether it be the GEMCOs, whether it be the DISCOs, they have to understand that every region and every area have its own peculiarity. Like the other panelists say, we have to open up the issue of generation. If these places are good in
we've lost Saleh there. Saleh, sorry.
I was really enjoying his contribution.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the three of us here in the studio were really enjoying your contribution.
Yeah, because I think he made the valid point there. Despite the fact that we have our peculiarities and problems, but still, Nigeria is still our country, and we are not the ones that will bring the country down. It's not going to come down on us, and we will not bring it down, and it's not going to come down on us. So, and the essence of also being here at a time like this is to profile solutions, believing that someday we'll get it right. At least, if it's not in our own generation, at least in the generation of our children. Okay. Because we are the one that will lay the foundation. But what we're saying is that let those who have found themselves within the offices of authority, let them do what is right. That is what Nigerians want to talk about.
Don't hold your thoughts there.
All right.
We have a caller. Hello, good evening. This is Matters Rising. You know, my pain, John, is that, you know, this, you know, we have this constant increase of tariff of electricity, and it is not in tandem with, you know, what comes in the supply, and even what comes to the pocket. So you talk about affordability. When you increase tariff, and then as a worker or as a market woman, there's no improvement in your hidden economics. What do? That's why you have the issue of tapping. Many Nigerians are now tapping.
By passing.
You know this.
No, hold your thoughts there, Catherine. Good evening. This is Matters Rising.
Good evening, sir.
Your name, sir, and where you're calling from? It's not clear. Go ahead, Catherine.
You know this issue of service-based tariff. Ordinarily, it's supposed to be a good thing, you know, because there was a time when you find that the highbrow areas are constantly getting power supply, while the people that live in the suburbs and other middle class areas were not getting supply. But everybody was paying the same. Everybody was paying the same thing. Now the service-based tariff says, because you live in Maitama or Guzape or Asokoro or other highbrow areas, take 20 hours of electricity per day and pay a premium. You know, ordinarily, it is it's fine. It's fine by me. You are enjoying the power, so pay for it. Unlike in the past when people were paying for darkness, you know, especially in the era of estimated billing.
Let's this caller. Hello, good evening. This is Matters Arising. Good evening. Okay, go ahead.
What's happening with the network today? Yes. You know, so unlike in the past when with estimated billing when people were paying for darkness, but now there is prepaid meters, and even though that is a challenge on on its own, as not the whole country has been metered, but we hope that in the near future, almost everybody or nearly the whole country will be metered, and then people will begin to pay for what they actually consume.
Hello, good evening. This is Matters Arising.
Good evening.
Good evening. Your name, please, and where are you calling from?
Yes, I'm Kibros, calling from Kaduna.
Go ahead. Go ahead with your comments. The line seems to be very epileptic today.
Yeah.
And you are in a line of thoughts with regards to the tariff.
Yeah, so I was saying that if people get the power, then they should pay for it. But beyond that, the cost of the tariff itself is another problem, because people that are in the bands where they are getting 20 hours electricity per day, you find out that what households are paying on electricity alone is 2 times or 3 times the minimum wage of the country. So where are people expected to get that amount of money to pay for power alone, when there are other competing needs? They have rent to deal with, they have feeding, they have medical bills, they have education, and so many other bills to compete. So I really would love to see a situation where the power tariff is looked at again. Government has said they cannot continue to subsidize power. IMF, World Bank, and other international organizations have told the government to discontinue subsidy on power, but I think that the government can look at it again. And definitely I think that something can be done. The whole power situation needs to be looked at from the beginning, holistically. The entire distribution, generation, and transmission issue. There is something fundamentally wrong at the root of that entire power system that needs to be looked at.
Well, Catherine, on that note, we're going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll move to our second topic. That will be after the break. Please stay with us. Say on KAFTAN TV, imagine a beautiful world. We're not just bragging, we know our onions in the world of broadcasting. One of our outlets to express ourselves to the world is our flagship program, Matters Arising. Join veteran broadcaster Ruben Okoro and our crack team live.
And they give us a high price, and we just say, Nigeria, we ready? As I said earlier, the lyrics is up, talking about the old new national.
On KAFTAN TV, Startimes channel 480 and 124, as well as NIGCOMSAT frequency 12518, symbol rate 29500, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 p.m. live. You can join the conversation by calling this phone number 0802-993-8365. It's dramatic and insightful. Don't miss it. Please join us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Matters Arising, and we are discussing Nigeria's epileptic power supply. And callers have been calling. Please continue to call. It is your show. Make it conversational. It is sad that we're still talking about power every day. Let's take this caller. Hello, good evening. This is Matters Arising. It's your show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Your name, please, and where you're calling from, and make your comments.
Something from Delta.
Your name, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. The problem of this country is just the issue of the airlines.
Okay.
What once anything is happening in this country and it does not affect them, they don't take cognizance of the poor people in the country. As we are talking now, there is 48-hour light in Aso Rock. And how can he talk about the other people? There is this issue that he has hiked the fuel for the common, but Nigeria is paying his fuel. It's fuel bill. So what the airline, the leader, are the focus of this country. They don't want the common man to survive. That is why they actually make everything very hard for the common man to actually. But the problem is issue of life in this country. When the government was having it right, when it was better. It's better than now. Now they said they will privatize it for better, but now the privatization is for worse. But I don't think how this country will work, because the truth is that the airline and the people destroy this country, not the common man.
Okay.
So we should work on this country and see what we can do if the airline can common man in their agenda, because the airline will actually want to finish the common man, steal our money, and the industry was supposed to take, they will not give to us.
Thank you so much. Samson from Delta State. He's heaping the entire blame on the doorstep of the elites who are the leaders, and he's not wrong to do that, because they are the ones leading the country, and they come with promises, campaign promises, to do these things. Okay, let me take. Okay, we have lost that.
You know, whatever we experience today as a failure is also as a result of leadership and followership. Because if you look at some political and even press theories, leadership will be as strong as the followership. If you have a docile, passive followers, the leaders will just go ahead and do what they want to do. But if you have an active, vocal, and a followership, then the leaders will sit up and do the right thing. So as we blame the leaders, we should also blame the followers as well. It should be of equal proportion. Now, having said that, for us to even move forward now in the whole issue of power generation, I think we need to increase our generation ability beyond 50,000 megawatts.
Okay, let's take this caller, beyond 50,000 megawatts. Matters Arising, you're welcome. This is Matters Arising from KAFTAN Television in Abuja. Go ahead, sir. Your name, please, and where you're calling from. We have lost that caller.
So we have to move on.
Increase, yeah.
Beyond where we are. If we talk, because we talk about industrialization, we talk about so many things about development. But how are you going to be building castles on the air? Okay,
we have the caller. Hello, good evening. This is Matters Arising from KAFTAN Television in Abuja.
Yes, Charlie, I was talking when the network went down.
Yeah, you're right, Charlie. Go ahead.
Yes, so my take on this, on the final note, is that people should be patriotic. I hear a lot of people saying that the masses are not trying their best. I want to tell people that when there's improvement in anything that you complain or you see that is changing in your area, you should also try and encourage them to do more. I live in Jos. For the past 3 days, they've not taken light in my area. Even when there's rainfall, you see that constantly now they have worked on their system where lights don't even go when there's rainfall, except maybe it's a pole, because we've not gone on the ground. If we've gone on the ground with our cables, you know that this issue of having when rain is falling or when breeze is blowing, poles will fall. You will not have that in Nigeria, but we still have pole and we still have pole all over. That being said, for the issue of generation, this issue of Mambila should be looked upon seriously. Should be looked upon, and other areas where we know that we have wind, like in Sokoto and Katsina, those axes they have wind, they have a lot of wind there. During Jonathan time, there was a project on wind turbines there, and I think it's like they allowed that project to die off just like that.
Okay.
These are things that we have to check. States now have been given power to generate electricity. States have been given power to do rails within their domain. A lot of things have been given, a lot of powers have been given to them to exercise. For the discos, they are not doing anything. I can tell you, discos, you still make customers to contribute for transformer in their areas. This is one of the problems that you're talking about. I just went to my cousin's house today. He was telling me that 1 month they bought a bill for him of 300,000 because he doesn't have meter. How does he pay for that kind of money? He doesn't even use anything electric. But they brought 300,000. He showed me the bill. 300,000 naira for him for 1 month because of he doesn't have a meter.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the way they do these things. When you don't have meter, you turn to become a madman. If you have meter, then again you have to be offing lights and fighting with your wife, fighting with your children. Even security lights now people don't own anymore in their houses because of they don't want to waste power. So this thing should be checked. And the president, IMF and World Bank are saying no subsidy. Go to France. Go to the US, they do subsidy. They have food banks that they feed people for free. They have homeless and they still give them shelter. Is that not subsidy? In Nigeria, do we have any shelter for the poor? No. Do we have where you have food stamps? So all these things are things that government should not just listen to IMF. Do what is peculiar to your country so that the country will be better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sally, for your contribution. Always contributing so wonderfully and opening new vista of conversations. You know, he did talk about my takeaway there is the fact that there are poles everywhere, and you know, modern countries have gone underground. Yeah, all cables are buried on the ground. You don't, you know, they are not, you know, they are not exposed to the vagaries of the weather and become vulnerable to windstorms and things like that.
Or even to, you know, to theft, vandals who keep on vandalizing power stations, cables, you know, transformers and all of that. So yeah, going underground is one way to also ensure that those cables are, you know, are secure. There's a place, there's an area in Abuja here, it's called Guzape, where, you know, it was Rufai's vision. And he provided infrastructure there, beautiful roads, and the cables there are all buried. And it's a beautiful sight to behold. When you go there, you just see light. You just see street lights. All the cables are buried there, all on the ground. That's the way to go. That's the way to go.
Even the original plan of the FCT here, if most people who were in Abuja early enough can still remember that even in those days, the cables were actually under the ground in some parts of this town.
I remember very well. Many parts.
But however, speaking generally, I think if we are still dealing with 5,000 megawatts, we are going nowhere.
John, hold your thoughts there. Okay. Hello. Good evening. This is Matters Arising. Go ahead, sir. The caller is having difficulty communicating. So you're talking about 50,000 megawatts.
If we are still dealing with 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 megawatts, we are going nowhere. It's still going to be the same old story. So we still need to move up. We need to take that step. There should be the political will from everywhere. We take that leap. We can do it. That's not then the issue of transmission. All these old power cables, all these old power lines, all these 3 kVA, 11 kVA, K6, KDs, and the rest of them. You know, it's time again to remove some of these old power lines and bring new power lines to be able to accommodate the volume of power. And then for the distribution company, this issue of what they call estimated billing methodology is outdated. Archaic and outdated. I don't know why we are still talking about that. Even when you know that provision of meter to your customers was part of the agreement signed in 2013.
Yeah, you're right.
Even the federal government bent backward to bring in a third party in what they call the meter access program, MAP, that began around 2019, which was you get a meter from a manufacturer, you give to the customer, then the customer now buys with his money or her money and then pays back. But it's not happening.
John, I can see your vehemence is already, you know, coming out.
Oh, it's quite,
your emotions. And you are being factual. You are being factual. You are a Nigerian, and you know you also experience power outages. You have families. You live here. I can really relate with the emotions that is trying to betray you. But guys, I want us at this juncture to move international, and then take a look briefly as we wind down of a trending international event, and that has to do with last Saturday's unfortunate incident where there was an attempt to assassinate the former president of America, Donald Trump. I can see callers are calling in so that they can make their contribution concerning this epileptic power supply in the country, which is also a very serious matter. But guys, you know that today is the third day of the Republican National Convention in the United States of America, and former President Donald Trump, who narrowly escaped assassination attempt last week, Saturday, has been coronated as the party's flag bearer. Trump has picked 39-year-old first-time Senator J.D. Vance from Ohio as his vice presidential candidate. Political pundits say, with the ticket confirmed, it's an opportunity for the Republican Party to rally its base ahead of November presidential election. That takes me to the British election. America has been, dubbed as the bastion of democracy for a very long time, and it has a very long history of a democratic process. The British held their election when Rishi Sunak moved the election front to the 4th of July. It came, it was seamless. At the end of the day, a victor emerged, and Rishi Sunak handed over the reins of governance to Keir Starmer. Even congratulated him and said he's a good man, he loves Britain, and things like that. But here we are, the bastion of democracy. All we see is apocalyptic language. All we hear are divisive comments. And America has remained polarized, moving towards November presidential election later in the year.
Well, from time to time, things happen like we are experiencing now. And when things happen like this, they don't happen out of nowhere or in a vacuum. It's always caused, there's something that happened that led to some of these, that triggers some of these reactions in the US. But unfortunately, it went too far. It went too far. The rhetorics, it moved from the realm of rhetorics into physical violence, yes, which we saw out there on Saturday in Butler, Pennsylvania, when the former president almost lost his life there, if not for God. That's the only thing I can say.
Yes, for God.
Yes,
you're right.
Yes. So the best option here, like they are, all of them, both, even currently, I'm even surprised that even Trump himself has actually toned down his rhetorics.
Yes, exactly.
And he's even asking everyone to calm down.
Same for unity.
Exactly. Same with the sitting president. Because America is very divided along so many lines.
Yes.
And over several years now, it's been that way. So we just hope that the restrictions will tone down, and that they should continue within that same trajectory and threshold that we know them to be the bastion of democracy, where every other country, look onto America, as their kind of inspiration in terms of democracy, because of the years they are spent, running this democratic process.
Okay.
So I think we pray that they should just tone down.
Yeah, it's good that it was an unfortunate thing that happened to Trump. Like he said, it was either luck or God, that made him survive. And it's good to see that both Trump and Biden have toned down. Their parties have also toned down on the on the kind of campaign that they were putting out there, because the Republicans were already latching on to what happened. You could see them saying things like the Biden administration has created a conducive environment for violence to thrive, which is why that assassination attempt took place. The son of the former president, that's Trump's son, also came out to make some some comments that weren't quite good. He shouldn't be saying that at a time like this. But it's good that they are toning down, and Biden himself has promised that if he wins, that he's going to tackle gun violence in America. And then he has also made it clear that elections shouldn't be a blood field or a killing field. He has denounced what happened, and the way the government is also handling the matter. There is a lesson there for us to also learn in how we handle issues like that. The way the government has put in place machinery to investigate, to find out what, even though the prime suspect, the guy who carried out the shooting, is dead. So his motive, you know, may not be known. Sketchy. Yes, as of now, but it's good that the government is investigating, because they want to get to the root of the matter to ensure that, you know, something like that does not happen again. It's an unfortunate incident and nobody should rejoice about it.
One thing that amazes me with regards to the American politics is that all over the world, in the political firmament, you know, during campaigns and running towards elections, you know, things happen, you know, sometimes inadvertently, that disrupt the political dynamics of those societies. And that brings to mind, first of all, there was serious, you know, neck-to-neck, so to speak, campaigns. And then, you know, the sitting president, Joe Biden, started making some gaffes that brought his rating a little bit low. And then, not too long, there was an attempt on the life of Donald Trump, and then he raised his fist and was shouting, and a picture that was captured by Associated Press AP photographer became iconic of sorts. And with that, Trump has toned down his rhetorics and his apocalyptic language. And this, to me, has really, I'm a Trump man, I must confess. And it has already changed the dynamics.
Okay, you're a Trumper.
I'm a Trumper. So it has changed the dynamics. So we know where the trajectory is headed. Okay. And hopefully, let's take this caller. Hello. Good evening, and this is Matters Arising.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. The call is not...
it's not clear.
Okay.
You know, American politics, it's not like the rest of the world, where you win by simple majority. You know, you still have to deal with the electoral college and the rest of them. So it's highly technical, and that's why even during
it's difficult to predict.
During the campaign, despite leading up to the elections, you have all kind of polls everywhere. You know, coming with different figures and everything.
John, hold our thoughts there. We have a caller. This is Matters Arising from KAFTAN Television Studios in Abuja. Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. Your name.
My name is Trace.
What's your name? Sounds like a child. Go ahead.
So it's not that easy, okay, to predict now. But, you know, looking at the polls as it is at the moment, it seems like Trump is actually leading. Looking at the current polls, but, you know, anything can change. Anything can change, because you still have November ahead, and you still have the campaign. The campaigns proper, you know, are still ahead. You know, so anything can still happen. You have at least for the party members, the Democrats and the Republicans, at least they are sure of their voters. But there are also independents, people who have not made up their mind where to vote.
And quickly, before Catherine says something, what came to my mind also while we were talking is that the way some of the politicians who are combustible, you know, Trump is the most combustible politician in America, and there are some who are his strong critics, like the vice presidential candidate he picked, J.D. Vance, was one of his strongest critics. Supported Nikki Haley at the convention, came to support him. She said she doesn't care whatever anybody thinks. You know, she was the last to step down for him. Catherine, you remember?
Yeah, I know. I do.
But now they are on the same page.
Yeah, they're on the same page, and it's interesting. We'll keep our eyes peeled to see how that pans out. American politics, like John said, is unlike politics elsewhere. The dynamics change. You know, they keep on changing every day as you lead up to the election. So it's difficult to predict, you know, which way things are going to swing. But well, we hope that as they go into the campaigns proper, we'll not witness any violence acts. Most importantly, we hope that the elections, the campaigns will be civil. People will tone down their language, and as we normally say in Nigeria, election no be war.
No be war. Election no be war.
Yes. You know,
John, let's take this last caller. Hello. Good evening, this is Matters Arising, and we're discussing American election.
My name is Abdullah.
Okay, go ahead with your comment.
Hello, from Ida Local Government.
Okay, go ahead. Please hold on.
Hello, I can hear you.
No, turn down the volume of the TV set, please.
I don't know that. Hello.
It's still noisy there.
Now talk about the election 2027.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, please, with your comment. It's your show.
The election 2027, if they no carry the money, anything where they hide from. Election 2027, you cannot run for Nigeria. Nobody can come up to vote.
Okay. Okay. Abdullah from Kogi State has digressed a little bit. He said, by 2027, nobody will come out to vote. So, and that is his opinion. It's not the opinion of KAFTAN TV. So, as we wind down, let's have our thoughts in 30 seconds each, and so that we can call it a night or a day.
All right. Still on the power sector, I think we have to do something if we must grow technologically, industrially, and otherwise. I think we have to do something about the power sector and tackle those fundamental problems.
Okay.
Yeah, the government needs to holistically look at the power sector. If needed, review the privatization process, see what went wrong and what can be fixed, and then also look at the transmission arm of the whole, the whole power system, because that has been said to also be a big problem. Beyond generation and distribution, there is also the angle of transmission, which is directly within the purview of the government. So that also needs to be looked at and addressed.
My take is that power is one of the major drivers of economy. It's one of the major drivers of industrialization. When you lack power, you cannot attract foreign direct investment. And even the ones that are within your country are doing business will begin to leave to neighboring countries that are seriously generating electricity. And even citizens will begin to leave the country for greener pasture where industrialization is thriving. And on that note, this is how far we can go on our package tonight on Matters Arising. We thank our esteemed viewers and our vibrant callers. And on behalf of our producer, Ruben Okala, and the entire production team that made the program possible, I remain yours truly, Maucauley Hunohashi. Good night and see you next time.
And I am John Okoro. See you next time.
And from me, Catherine Agbo, see you next time on the show.
And as we say on KAFTAN TV,
Imagine a beautiful world.